End of the road news, part 66666. And it's the aftermath, and, I was talking about some of the things that are kind of wrong with the current state of affairs, and it's the end of Monday, the day that my lawyer said that she would send the motion for me to approve, and, it's pretty crazy when you hand these people something while you just explain to the judge all this nonsense. And I'll have more of that coming out soon, but maybe even more. But and then still, it's been months since I put this trying to put you in my shoes here. Since I put this motion into play, and it's just been crazy that it's we're less than a month away, and we're still fumbling with motions, and all I wanted was one motion for the past 5 months. You know what I'm saying? It's really crazy. So, a fellow in here looked at me the other day as I explained to him some of my hardships, and he said, "Now you know what it's like to be a nigger just like us." And I took that to heart, and I thought of it kind of as he said it just like that too, as much as I'm trying to mimic it. He did not say nigga, he said nigger, and that was kind of, like, almost like a compliment, coming from him at least. But to me, it seemed more like a pass. You know how everyone says, you can't say that word unless you're black. It's like, well, now I have a black man telling me that I'm just like him. So, there it is, I have a pass, and take it for whatever it's worth. I'm sure I'm going to never hear the end of it, but I really don't care, because at this point, it seems so interesting. Another interesting thing is I have a black man in here who says he shares the same lawyer, and he can't stand this person for the same fucking reasons. He says, all we've heard about for the past 3 years is how on fire this lawyer was during these January 6th trials, and how much this lawyer fought for January 6ers, and, he's not a January 6er, and he's really upset that it's really come to this and that she hasn't done anything for him. And I'm saying, well, she hasn't done anything for me either, so, it really puts home the message here that, that we're in the same boat. Our system, we've been hearing nothing but praise and accolades for Donald Trump and this stuff, but let's get to the skinny, down to the bottom of these pardons for technically almost a bunch of white people, and that's how a lot of people see it in here, and because it's about probably, I think it was at 97, I think it's going up 98% black now, maybe even 99% black in them. So since Donald Trump put out an executive order saying he's going to clean up the streets of D.C., and little did we know what that would entail. So not to say that everyone in here is innocent, but certainly we should advocate for the innocent until proven guilty aspect of our supposed law system and justice. So the problem is, we've talked about the problem on the show. The problem is that in America, we pre-trial detain people, and then we have to prove our innocence before we're released, instead of proving our guilt. I said also, once you're in here on pre-trial detention, you have to, basically that's when the government starts its investigation. And that's one of the things they do. They listen and record all these calls, and I mean every single call. And they can take any of this stuff out of context, and they probably will for trial. And just like they did to get the case moving this far, so I provided that evidence so people can understand that our justice system is basically toast. And I really don't care what the government says about that. I really don't care, because they really have all the points to prove. But they've only proven that the Constitution is null and void unless they want to advocate for it at any point in time. And the judges don't really give a shit either. And that's a fact. That's really a fact of life here in America, our third world shithole. This whole country that can't even upkeep its prisons and somehow makes enough money to pay Africans to enslave a majority of a black population inside here. And that's kind of where our system has really took a turn. If it never even did, that's the next part, because, according to a lot of people and historians, some of the stuff has never really changed. If it has, it's only gotten worse. And I've been reading a lot of books in here, and they kind of say that it's been like this, at least for the black community, for a very long time. So I'm not going to go into all the rhetoric and ideology about blacks being a menace to society, or being particularly picked out from birth according to their skin color as something that's troubling society. We already have a troubled society, and I don't think it has anything to do with race. That's with money. So we look at our bail system, and I don't really have enough information here in our law library or anything to really tackle this one, because I don't know much about it, but I think it's probably something that's the most screwed up thing about our law system. So my lawyer, especially the one I've been driving out over the phone, has really taken a problem with me voicing communications over the phone line. In fact, every time I've seen or talked with this lawyer in the past several meetings, this lawyer has basically said, man, you gotta stop talking on the phone. Well, wouldn't you like that? But I have a job to fulfill, and if this person is not going to ever say that I have a news channel in the court, and try to make it so that we're talking about the narrative, is what we call the narrative of the court, which is right now I'm painted as a dangerous person to the community. And that's why they won't let me out, and I don't qualify for bail, et cetera, according to some people. However, if you look through the history of it and look through the transcripts, you'll find that this pretrial detention stuff is pretty nutty, and they'll just come up with any and all reasons. They come up with every reason. But it's at different times. So the lack of continuity in this case should speak more to the problems with the court and getting a fair trial in America these days. So, we got a lawyer that's saying, please don't speak on your news channel that I hope the government continues to say is not a news channel at all, but a place of domestic terrorism, et cetera, et cetera. It's this kind of shit that makes it so that, America sucks. And it really does. It really does suck. It really does suck. America really, really, really sucks. And so, it doesn't matter who's president. And we saw pretty much the same bullshit going on for the past 9 years, with exception to a few things. But it really kicked up before Donald Trump was even out of the Oval Office the first time with this COVID shit. And the failed elections that we had at that point, and ever since then. And so, when I advocate for a real election, because, right now we just have this fake democracy opinion, and almost everyone in the United States understands that democracy is dead, but every time it's politicized and driven home, it's always against Donald Trump. Donald Trump is trying to kill our democracy. And it's like, look, democracy's been dead for a very long time. Probably even before I was born, in here in America. And I don't think I've ever seen it.
You have 1 minute remaining.
I've never seen it in real life, and I don't think I'm going to see it anytime soon. Unless people start to realize how fucked shit up things really are in this godforsaken planet and big failed country. So, for those who tune in regularly, I pray that we actually get one day our voices heard. I'm asked all this day, why did you go to the Capitol that day? Oh, to patriotically and peacefully have my voice heard, just like Trump said. And that kind of just falls on deaf ears, and no one really gives a shit anymore. And I got beat that day by police, and now I'm being accused for millions of dollars. But it's the opposite, even though the camera footage shows totally different things. And so I want you to look at camera footage. I want you to just look at the evidence and pay it heed and understand that you're part of this, and justice system doesn't prevail unless people actually.
Thank you for using Global Tel Link.